You either use the internet for fun or you use the internet to grow. You're here to grow. Welcome to TRS Clips. Because I've been on YouTube for 8 years, I have access to a lot of data. I have all sorts of people in my audience, and I do believe that my audience does represent a significant portion of India at least.
Correct.
All these young people who are following me are wondering about these same things. I'll tell you what the criticism of the Congress side is. One, there's too much Rahul Gandhi celebration, and I think a significant portion of the country has lost faith in him a little bit. And that's the narrative online as well. Please feel free to correct that narrative a little bit.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one angle, because it's looking more and more to the amateur political observer that it's kind of becoming a presidential style election where it's Modi versus Rahul Gandhi. Like, everyone assumes that if the Congress actually is in power, Rahul Gandhi will be made PM. And if not him, then who? And when you actually pit them against each other, you're talking about experience and age and power and somewhat of a track record versus someone who's not even been a cabinet minister or not even been a CM, etc., etc. Right. So that's the main criticism, and that's why I feel a lot of the centrist votes are going to go for BJP or Nota, one of the two. But people won't vote for Congress because of this. And the second criticism is this whole futuristic angle that people might don't want to watch the news because it's all debates about the recent past rather than, hey, by the way, in America, ChatGPT is taking over the world. Hey, by the way, in China, they're probably working on quantum computing.
Yes. So and it's crazy. And again, our energies are in sync. This is the third or fourth thing that I was thinking, and you've spelled it out. You know, when Rajiv Gandhi was prime minister, we built our second supercomputer. Few countries in the world have a supercomputer. India is one of them. Why aren't we building a quantum computer? I know Google's doing it. You know that America's doing it. You know China's doing it. We know that now. Why isn't India doing it? Do we not have the technology? What are we talking about today? Let me be brutally critical of the BJP. Who is living in with who's doing what, who is eating what meat? How does that matter? Why aren't we talking about quantum computing? Because that is going to redefine the world as we know it. It's going to redefine our space security. It's going to redefine everything. Why aren't we doing it? Do we not have the capability?
I mean, my limited understanding is it's possibly happening somewhere. That's what I assume about all governments. At least that's what I understood from the scientists on the show, that projects are always being worked upon.
They haven't paid ISRO the salaries for the last 3 months. ISRO scientists, they haven't paid salaries for the last 3 months. Is that fair? And that's my issue with this government. When you ask me when I see they're socialist or they're left, 3 months ISRO scientists, we're very proud of ISRO. It's a great organization. 3 months salaries haven't been paid. And feel free to fact check me on this.
I will, but first I want to talk about this Rahul Gandhi angle. I just want to cap it off. Because you're a Congress supporter, do you look at him as your leader?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Do you feel he's the victim of bad media narratives?
No.
Okay.
You can't blame him. You can't blame the media for it. You have to own up and take responsibility. You can't blame the media. Media will do what it has to do. वो उनका धर्म है. Dharma is, I'm not saying religious wise. Sure. I don't want controversy. That is their narrative. You got to create your narrative.
The most recent version of Rahul Gandhi that we saw on the internet was, I think, with Samdesh. He had done some conversation. In my eyes, and again, I'm really trying to find positives, but I don't look at him as a capable leader because he's not got like a track record behind him, honestly, pound for pound. And secondly, I do believe that he's got to work his way up. I look at him in the same way that many people would look at Bollywood star kids, that he's sitting upon legacy. And he can definitely change this by appearing on more podcasts, by doing more media interviews where he's talking freely. You know, not just doing the whataboutery and blaming the government, but talking futuristically. If he does this, he's a young leader and I feel he can be branded well. And this is something I feel both sides get wrong. I don't feel BJP or the Congress gets their branding right. It's too old school. But who am I to say anything? BJP's like won this election based on branding.
They're too old school, both of them. But I think with RG, what's happened, I do believe the narrative has changed slightly for him after Bharat Jodo. I also want to make one thing clear. I don't think Rahul Gandhi at this moment is in the race to be prime minister. He doesn't. And from his family, to be fair to his family, since his father was martyred, that's 89, nobody from his family has become prime minister. And I always say this too when this question's thrown about RG to me. He could have become prime minister in 2010, 2011, 2012. He didn't. So to be fair to him, I don't think that family is obsessed about being prime minister. I think what RG, and to your question, why do I see him as a leader? I think what RG brings to the table is a strong moral force. He's a very upright, moralistic guy. Because perhaps he's seen so much tragedy upfront in his life. Imagine his father being blown up and had the body to stitch, his grandmother being killed by his best friends who used to play badminton with, they shot his grandmother. Because I think he's seen so much personal suffering, he seems to be a very, very nice guy. He's a very empathetic guy. He has a lot of empathy. He cares. I know that he cares about people, he cares about individuals, he cares about situation, he cares about strife. And it's not easy to sort of be somebody in his position. So I don't think he hankers for power. I think what he needs to do is be political. He's not the prime ministerial candidate. He's definitely the moral force of the Congress that binds the Congress.
Why do you think he didn't serve as a cabinet minister in 2010?
If you ask me personally, in my opinion, that's a mistake. He should have. He should have been a cabinet minister. But the more I see him now, I think he's not driven by power. He's driven more by a larger principle of trying to be a more humane person, a leader who can bring a healing touch. So I think even then, while forget cabinet, he could have just been prime minister in 2010. I mean, it's wrong. It could have been wrong. It can be argued it's wrong. Who would have stopped him? But the fact is he didn't. The fact is that he stood up for what he believes in, and he even today stands up for what he believes in, irrespective of how he's criticized. It's not easy to go to Manipur in the middle of a strife and play a healing touch and meet both sides. He does that. So I see a very humane quality in him. And whatever interactions I've had with him, he's been so empathetic, so kind. And I think that is amazing. So I think at some point the nation does need somebody like him who can bring a healing touch. But I don't think he's the prime ministerial candidate.
Okay. I'll give a very straightforward PR move for him. He should appear on all the best podcasts in the country, from Smita Prakash to TRS to Untriggered to Dostcast to Raj Shamani. He should just go on all, show his human side, show what he's about with a bit of a game plan, without his managers in the room.
Yeah.
Okay? And see how the internet and the youth reacts to that. If he does that, it'll cover up his whole PR. And this is coming straight from a YouTuber who understands the world of branding and PR. If he does this, then he needs to showcase it.
I actually agree with this. And I think he should do fun shows. And I think in some way, Bharat Jodo did change his image. I mean, here's a guy who every morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, starts walking, walks 25 kilometers a day. And you're a runner. It's not easy to walk 25 kilometers a day. Day in, day out, fit, young guy, meeting the common man, putting security aside, talking, understanding their problem, showcasing the diversity of this country.
Yeah.
I think that was brilliant.
I've always drawn out the national narrative from the world of cricket.
Yeah.
In the age of Virat Kohli, which is also why you see people like Jesai Deepak,
Correct.
Anand Ranganathan, their online brands taking off.
Yeah.
The youth wants to see a certain amount of aggression, straightforwardness. They want to see a Virat Kohli in everyone. And alphaness.
I agree with you.
Which I don't know if his moral values satisfy the youth's need for seeing that Virat Kohli type of figure. And I think maybe he has a chance to change that if he appears on screen. In a lot of people's eyes, he's not hustled enough right now to be considered a PM candidate. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
But I don't think he's the PM candidate. I don't think he's put that out. And the track record shows his family hasn't occupied that post for the last 30 plus years.
If not him, then who?
Well, I do believe firmly that they should have a PM face to take on the prime minister.
Yeah.
I do believe that firmly. Because like I gave my earlier example of the head chef, if you have a head chef and a star chef in Mr. Modi, you need a star chef opposite it. So I do believe they should have that. The political boring answers, the Constitution of India says MPs will select their prime minister. That's a political constitutional answer. And that's a great answer. But people of India want to see a fight. So I think you should have somebody, whoever it is, you choose on a name who will sort of create a new vision for India, a vision that is different from the BJP's vision, that will challenge the BJP to speak on issues that the BJP finds uncomfortable to speak on. Economy. The BJP is not good. Their narrative is very simple. And everyone who comes to your podcast will do, we are now the 5th largest economy, we'll become 3rd. You would have anyways become the 3rd largest. Nothing's going to stop us from being 3rd largest. Can your per capita income go from 127th in the world to 3rd largest in the world? That is the key. Can we have an India that is free of strife? Can we create many more first generation entrepreneurs? Their narrative is so set up, so stuck up, which is the obvious. So we need to create that narrative and challenge the BJP on issues that the BJP is uncomfortable. Move them beyond religion. Because that is where the BJP is at its strongest.
Yeah.
The BJP is at its strongest when it comes down to religion.
New clips released at the same time that a podcast releases. This is TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe.